Welcome, everybody, to the Indiana Basketball Show on the Gruely True Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Pastor, here with a Hoosier legend, number 34 in your hearts. And I got nothing else on top of that, but we've got Steve Risley, who lost to Aurora High School in the Sweet 16 in 1977 and probably one of the biggest upsets in basketball history. Nobody at Aurora was taller than 2'5", and Risley lost to him. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. You're talking to, I'd say legends a stretch, but you may be talking to the next coach of IU basketball.
Really? Who am I talking to right now?
I'll tell you what, it would be if I got in there, I'd be just like Woodson, a deer in front of the headlights. So,
well, anybody watching right now, tell us if you can hear Steve or not, because right now I think we're having some technical difficulties. Say something, Steve.
Hello, my name is Steve Risley.
There you go. Now it's good. It was on my end. All right. So what we're going to do for the next couple weeks is each day we're going to break down a possible Indiana basketball coaching candidate, give you our opinion of the pros and the cons, and tell you whether we would be all right with that pick or not, like anybody cares, Steve. But to give you a general overview, because I think we can all agree there's probably not going to be a new head coach named until after the Final Four or around that time, because most of the guys that would be candidates will hopefully be coaching in the NCAA tournament.
I agree entirely. I hope a lot of the guys we want, we think, and we're going to go through a litany of potential coaches and different scenarios, different playouts, and things like that. But again, like you said, I think that Scott Dawson is the only person listening to us right now. Him and Robert from Vero Beach. So, we got probably two people, but I think Scott's highly interested in what we have to say, don't you?
Well, he should, just because of the amount of listeners that eventually listen to this show. Of course, sometimes we just go off the seat of fly off the seat of the hat.
All right, Mike. Let's just get into this. Yeah. Let's start with the pearl of available coaches.
Yeah, so I figured we would go ahead and start off with a guy who's almost as old as Steve Risley.
And didn't you hear my pun? The pearl of coaches available to us.
Yeah, that was a tremendous pun, Steve. I ignored it. So should we tweet this out to Indiana basketball so we make sure Dawson sees all of our beautiful insight?
I already am off the ticket list, and I don't get the calendar anymore. So,
you're not off.
What the hell? Why not?
You're not off the ticket list. All right, win-loss record for Bruce Pearl.
Band.
All right, both his current mark and his career win certainly make a case all by themselves that he could be the Indiana coach. The other thing is this. He has used the name Bob Knight in glowing terms. He's told everybody that Indiana was his dream job. He has a career mark of 693 and 265, all while coaching at Southern Indiana, where he was there for a decade, took him to multiple Division II national championship games, then Milwaukee, Tennessee, Auburn. And I think Pearl isn't somebody who's coasting on his past either. His Auburn teams right now, I think Auburn's the best team in the country. And, right now, I think they're ranked number one. And when you look at Pearl, his style of play, it wins. And he tends to recruit athletic players who can force the issue defensively, which Indiana does not have. And Auburn currently leads the nation in block shots at 7. And I don't know, has Indiana had 7 block shots all year, Steve? So what's your thoughts, Steve? I mean, I think there's no doubt he's a great candidate. But my big drawback, and I think it's yours too, is just his age.
Yeah, I think the red flag on him, obviously, he's 64 years old, and I don't know if Indiana needs another transient journeyman, at not at the end of his career, because he's coaching some of his best basketball ever right now, but just how many productive years can he give you at 64? And I think we're seeing a lot of these teams that are doing really well in college now are guys that are taking like a Dusty May, who I'm sure will be on our list somewhere down the road to talk about, but are taking a young kid and building him and reshaping, putting a new culture into the program, modernizing the program. And so the downside of Bruce Pearl really just lies in his age, I think. Although I think that probably Bruce Pearl is as close to a transitional Bob Knight mentality as you're really going to see.
Yeah, because he's old.
He's old, but he coaches a lot in the same fiery style that Knight did, and has teams have always played very hard. And he gets them playing hard. They're a defensive minded basketball team, and he wins big games in big conferences. The Horizon League is no slouch. I mean, it's a good place to start. Milwaukee, it's not a bad place to start. Comes into the SEC and pretty well dominates for what, 6-7 years, 6 years with Tennessee.
Yeah, he hasn't been bad.
Ends up his last year there 23, or what was it, 23 or 7-0 or what? Well, what happened last?
You don't know what happened last year with Auburn?
No.
Come on, I know this. They were in the Final Four not too long ago. So, I mean, that was, I think, 2019 when they were in the Final Four. The other thing is,
but he put Tennessee in the tournament every year.
Yeah, and he has Indiana roots. I mean, he was the NABC Division II Coach of the Year in 1995.
Southern Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, Southern Indiana. He won 2 GLVC championships, and I mean, they won the NCAA Division II National Championship in 1995. So he's a winner. And the other thing about him is this, though, Steve. This is what stands out to me. And you touched on it a little bit. But I think his teams are relentless in forcing mistakes and creating outfits out of it. That's something Indiana hadn't done since Bob Knight was here.
Right.
And we saw that, I think it was last year, when Woody took the Indiana Hoosiers to play Auburn, and it was 104-76, a loss for Indiana. And that game was not as close as the score would indicate.
Yeah. And there are really nothing but superlatives about Bruce Pearl. I mean, he comes to Auburn, and the team is first year there. He's 15-20, 11-20, and then all of a sudden in 2016-17, he starts winning with his program, and it really turns the program around entirely. And that's kind of a recipe of exactly what Indiana needs right now, is somebody who has the college experience, the skill sets, the knowledge, the ability to build a coaching staff, the ability to use the portal to his advantage. He's going to have nil money. That's not going to be an issue in Indiana. But to turn a program around, and he turned Auburn around. Yeah. Let's face it, Auburn was not a basketball power.
No, they were good in the mid-'80s with Charles Barkley.
With Barkley. Yeah, that was the last time they were really a power. And then they and the thing about it, Mike, is you have touched on this, and I know you and I had debates between the SEC and the Big Ten. The SEC is probably the most up-and-coming basketball conference in the country right now. It is really getting itself on plane. I think it's surpassed the ACC, and I think it's really at a level that's pretty much equal, probably a few better individual teams than the Big Ten, but overall, I think the Big Ten has deeper bench depth, let's say. But that being said, Bruce Pearl has won everywhere he's gone, including taking teams with a losing record and quickly rebuilding those teams and molding them into tournament teams. And I'm not talking about just getting a bid to the tournament. His teams are influence tournaments. He got to the Final Four one year?
19.
Pardon?
2019 with Auburn.
2019. And always talked about in the recipe for Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four. His teams always are in that thing. And what he's done at Auburn is pretty remarkable this late in his career. So that softens that blow of him being 64. As I said, I don't see anything really bad with this guy. I would be happy to have him. I just think we'd be in the same boat again in 6 to 7 years.
Yeah, but if that boat includes a couple Final Fours,
who's going to argue with that?
If Bruce Pearl comes in and wins big, it's going to make it much easier to get the next
get another coach, right?
Yeah. I can tell you this. We got a question from Robert from Vero Beach. Robert asked if there is a buyout. Now, I'm sure there is a buyout, but I looked up Bruce Pearl's contract. His annual compensation is $5.4 million with increases of $250,000 And
Oh, we're
his
still paying Bill Mallory that, aren't we?
yeah, so he's going to get paid 5.7 with performance bonuses, nearing $1 million. So he's going to be $6 to $7 million, and he has a buyout clause if the university decides to terminate the contract before 2030. If they were to fire him for any reason, the buyout's 14.6 million. I don't see whether there's a buyout or not to be able to go in and get him from another place. But I can tell you this, I mean, that buyout, it doesn't really matter right now, Steve. This program needs to win. They're already going to buy out Woodson. Almost any place you got where you're going to bring in a coach, you're probably going to have to eat a little bit of
that's
money.
what I was going to say. We're not going to get the caliber of coach we want without buying somebody out. Those coaches aren't sitting there twiddling their thumbs in their lazy boy, watching Dancing with the Stars. They're all coaching somewhere and have contracts. Any coach we talk about in this series, we're going to talk about potential coaches, is going to come with a buyout, except that. But the problem with Indiana right now is they're bleeding so much basketball money. Fan base is dropping. People are growing leery. They stuck with it because Woodson was a favorite son, but they've not produced. I think they're growing. And now they've got the distraction of IU football. I mean, before there was nothing to draw.
How about this? Bruce Pearl, if you think about it, he wasn't kind of a no-name, which Signetti was to a lot of people, but he went to a place that wasn't very good at basketball, but they were a football factory, and he made the basketball team bigger than the football team, kind of what Signetti has done here.
I think in that aspect, you look at the age of Signetti, Pearl's a perfect complement. And just say, we're going to go back old school to our program right now. We're going to reset our culture, our core values, and we're going to get back to what we know as Indiana athletics or Indiana basketball. And that's gritty, hard-nosed, tough, defensive-minded, in-your-face type of basketball. That's what Indiana fans are used to, I believe. That's how I was trained to play the game at Indiana, and a lot of my predecessors and precursors were all trained the same way. We were tough SOBs on the court, and I think Bruce Pearl brings that instantly to this program. And I think he brings a winning mentality. I think he can build a culture. Are there any cheating issues with Bruce we need to be concerned?
Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not concerned about that because there's
very few ways pretty well gone away anyway, so it's pretty hard to.
But I'll tell you what there is.
I don't know what you can do to cheat.
I'll tell you what
there is. Get a dorm full of strippers from the local strip club.
That's not cheating. That's just being an idiot. All right.
Yeah. So that happened too.
This is the thing that stands out to me. The difference between your mid-60s coaches here are this. All right. Mike Woodson came from the NBA. His offense and defense are archaic. They look like crap and they don't work. Auburn plays a half-court offense. The Tigers play a modern 4-out set that will take maximum advantage. They're going to shoot the three. And they've converted, I think where I saw close to 40%, like 37, 38% this year. They're in the top 50 in three-point percentage at Auburn. They rank 25th in field goal percentage, and I think they're like 49% there. They're 37th in shots taken, 62 shots per game. But the big thing to me, apart from the X and O's, which is completely different from what we see with Coach Woodson, Pearl is a popular figure wherever he has coached. He's a very public figure. He has a ton of enthusiasm when it comes to selling a program. And let's face it, I think Archie Miller, Mike Woodson, you put them together, there's no charisma between the two of them. And I think really, especially with Archie Miller, I think a lot of that was Archie Miller's downfall. Because I saw something, I think it was Kent Sterling posted on the worst coach Indiana's had in the last 30 years. And he tried to claim that Woody was better than Archie Miller, I believe. But my problem with that is this. Archie Miller is the only reason Woody had 2 good seasons because Archie Miller is the one that got Trace Jackson Davis. And Archie Miller did recruit high school players from Indiana a little bit. It's just something failed on the coaching them part. So I think Bruce Pearl is a big personality that will become the face of Indiana basketball. And I can tell you this, Steve, the age worries me. There are a couple people that we'll talk about down the road that I think might be a little bit better choices. But I can say this, I don't think there's a better basketball coach in this country than Bruce Pearl.
Not one who's available. And I don't even know that Bruce is available. At this point, he may be happy at Auburn. I mean, like I said, the SEC is becoming a basketball powerhouse because of conference. I mean, they're not just going to be known for football anymore now. Their coaching ranks in their basketball league have done well there. Alabama's turning it on now. Tennessee is always good. Auburn's good now. There's a lot of programs that are good in the SEC. So he may be happy where he's at this point in time. He may not want to come to a program like Indiana. I don't know.
Well, he did invoke the name of Bob Knight in Indiana a couple weeks ago in a press conference. The other thing is this: you ask about issues. I did look it up because I knew there were some. I just couldn't remember exactly what they are. But much like Kelvin Sampson, who probably still should be our head coach, Pearl was caught not being honest with an NCAA investigation into a cookout. A recruit took part during an unofficial visit. Pearl was sanctioned by Tennessee for the cookout and the SEC at the time. Now, his time at Tennessee came to an end when further NCAA violations were discovered, and some other issues were uncovered involving player discipline. In addition, the NCAA gave Pearl a 3-year show cause penalty, which meant any sanctions given to Pearl at Tennessee would follow him to another coaching job. It essentially made him unhireable. So he was also involved in the FBI investigation into college basketball corruption. Assistant coach Auburn legend Chuck Person was arrested as part of that probe. Pearl was initially found to be uncooperative with the school in its internal investigation. His computers and cell phone were seized as part of the investigation, but no further sanctions against Pearl were leveled at that time. Now, Big Ten fans with long memories will also recall Bruce Pearl had a role in Deion Thomas's scandal at Illinois in 1989. Pearl, then an assistant at Iowa on the staff of Tom Davis, recorded a phone call with Thomas in which he asked Thomas if Illinois, specifically Illinois assistant coach Jimmy Collins, had given him impermissible gifts. Pearl then turned that admission, that recording, into the NCAA. Now, the NCAA found there was no wrongdoing by Illinois, and Thomas denied to the NCAA what he told Pearl, even though it was on tape. But so nothing really happened there. But Pearl's reputation took a hit from the incident. And Collins, later a head coach himself, refused to shake hands when they were both in the Horizon League, coaching Milwaukee and Illinois, Chicago, respectively. So there are some things here, but there's not too many guys where you're not going to find, especially when they're in the mid-60s, that you're not going to find it. But I would say this, since he's been at Auburn, nothing's happened. And it is, one of the small reasons, that the age, of why I do think there are a couple better candidates, Steve.
I agree. If it came down to he became our next head basketball coach, I would not be disappointed.
No, and we would win.
And we would win. We would win, and we would become, right now, as I hesitate to use the word weak in the Big Ten, but this is not their strongest periods of time. Okay,
we're in the middle to lower part of the middle of the pack. We're probably
but I'm talking about just 12. The Big Ten in general. The Big Ten in general is having a little bit of a down run right now. I don't know.
I think what it is.
I don't know what it is. If it's the incorporation of the West Coast teams.
UCLA is the only one that has had a lot of success. I don't think Oregon's quite as good right now as people thought it would be.
Right. Well,
USC, I think, might be slightly better than what people thought they would do.
Who?
But I think those are all programs. Yeah, I think those are all programs that are going to get better. I think what you got right now.
I think the Big Ten is going to get better because of it.
I think you've got 7 or 8 quality Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
But the only team I could see making a Final Four run may be Golden and Wolf with Dusty May at Michigan. And I'm not real convinced that they could. So.
I don't think Michigan's going to go very far in the tournament.
Well, I think
they're winning because they're playing in the Big Ten right now.
Well, they had some success outside of the Big Ten also before the season started. But we'll talk about Dusty May tomorrow if you want. Steve.
Okay, Dusty May tomorrow.
Yeah, we got the old guy and then the young guy to start the shows off.
There you go. So, as I said, I think the positives on the negative on Bruce Pearl simply, I think, is just his age.
Well, and he does have some skeletons in the closet.
Who at this point, unless you're a Dusty May who's just so new into the program, who doesn't have some skeletons? Hell, you said Calvin Sampson had skeletons, and we lost him. And Calvin Sampson's done well wherever he's gone since he left Indiana, extremely well. So I don't see the types of skeletons Bruce Pearl has are nothing that alarm me. Not some of the other coaches we're going to talk about bring to the table in terms of potential personal
Now,
issues and things
the
like
other
that.
drawback that I do give you with Pearl though is he's been highly successful at the Division I level, but there still is only one Final Four appearance in 2019. Now, I think that should change this year at Auburn. But if it doesn't change, don't you have to kind of question that at some point? Because I think there's no doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no doubt to me the three best teams right now in the country are Auburn, Alabama, and Duke. And if he can't get to the Final Four with this Auburn team, that would make me question some things.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, with only one Final Four appearance, let's face it, he's doing it at schools that haven't generally been known as basketball powers until recently.
Yeah, even
I mean, you
Tennessee's
give
not
him an
really a
Indiana
basketball
where
power.
if he puts Indiana winning again, and Indiana has that blue blood reputation, as they like to say, and those 5 dumbass stars on their ass that none of those kids have earned, and they shouldn't be there. But that's another song and dance.
And see, the other thing is this: if he does get to the Final Four, though, that's a roadblock because from Indiana's,
they're not going to let him leave then.
No, it's not that. It's from Indiana's point of view. Then it's a timing issue because if Auburn reaches a Final Four and wins a national championship or loses in the Final Four, you're going to be 2 weeks or several weeks into the transfer portal cycle by the time he's hired. So you're going to be, you're going to be kind of behind everything then.
And he's going to have to bring his own staff on too. So
I would think this. If you had to go 50-50, 60-40, 70, what do you think are the chances of Bruce Pearl being the head coach at Indiana, just percentage-wise?
I'd say 43%.
Okay. I will say 70-30 he won't. Because I think that baggage
about the same place.
The baggage is not terrible, but there's a lot of it, if you know what I mean. And also the fact that I think Auburn's a Final Four team. And I think it's going to be really hard to wait till after the Final Four to hire a coach when you're 3 weeks into the transfer portal cycle. I mean, it's going to be hard to win that way, at least win quickly. So it's got to be a guy you're convinced to give it a year. Maybe we'll struggle through this first year because we didn't really have a chance to get anybody. But I think the timing here is the thing that kills Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, I just for sake of discussion, I would disagree on the timing thing in terms of personnel. Hang on here, let me get.
You're supposed to turn your damn phone off.
Steve. I know, it's my wife.
Oh, you're the only guy that's got a landline.
Oh God, no, it's my cell phone. I don't know how to turn this thing off. There you go.
I think this one is talking about Dusty May, but Nick Dietrich says, of course I would. We had our chance to hire him last season. That ship has sailed on Dusty May. We will discuss that more tomorrow.
Nick, save that for tomorrow. We'll have
I don't think it has definitely sailed, but I think that it's left the port.
I think that the point you bring up about if he takes his team to the Final Four, that's bad in terms of the portal. Otherwise, if he doesn't get to the Final Four, I don't think it's a problem because I think that he's got a good enough reputation as a coach going to Indiana, looking at the facilities Indiana has to offer. I think that the portal he'll be able to use to his advantage.
Yeah, but nobody's going to know he's going to be the coach. So you're going to have 2 or 3.
Well, they're going to have to be on it right. They're going to be announcing right now. Anyway, I think this, Mike.
They can't announce it right now. So. They can't announce Bruce Pearl.
Yeah,
right
no.
But they can.
Yeah. I think he's a great fallback coach. I think if we don't get a Dusty May or somebody young, who we want to see and look as a long-term addition to the program, I think that Bruce Pearl would be he'd be a lot of fun, and I think he'd win pretty quickly. And he'd put this team on the map in terms of people would fear us again. They don't want to play Indiana with Bruce Pearl as their coach.
All right. Ryan Peters says, Nick
think it's a farce.
Nick says he was talking about Pearl.
24-car one again.
Hey, Nick was talking about Pearl. Dusty hasn't sailed. So, all right. Honest question. Do you think St. John's regrets their decision with Pitino? why is baggage such an issue at IU versus anywhere else? Because I'm not saying it's an issue, Ryan. What I'm saying is it may be an issue with the administration.
Yeah, I think the reputation
It's
of
not an
Indiana.
issue with me. I don't think it's an issue with many fans. And
Well,
I don't think St. John's regrets Rick Pitino. But what I'm saying is we saw Indiana's administration, the first sign of trouble with Kelvin Sampson, they jumped ship. They got rid of Sampson. Sampson has taken Houston, who wasn't considered a basketball or a football power, and has made them a consistent top 10 team.
yeah.
We definitely, the administration blew that.
Yeah, let me ask you this question, Mike. Ryan brings up a good point. Should Indiana be getting over the culture thing of like we're a clean program, and just say it's a clean slate with Portal and Nil? It's a clean slate now. Nobody's cheating anymore.
I will tell you this
So
right
if
now.
you get a coach who's
I would say
does
this.
things differently, is he cheating, or is it just the way that
I will tell you
we've
this
always
right
rejected it being done?
I wouldn't want Rick Pitino coaching at Indiana under any circumstances. It's a dude who cheated on his
Guy
wife, had
wins
sex with
wherever
his
he
secretary, and he paid for her abortion. I don't want to win that bad.
Okay.
And he's 70
Well,
years
yeah,
old.
no, you're right.
He's a scumbag. There's a difference between scumbags and guys that may have done a few
personal
things wrong
character should count, should still matter
Yes.
a lot.
But
personal character should matter.
Yeah, but I mean, with Bruce Pearl, I don't think his background should have
That eliminates a
anything
couple
to
of
play on
other
this,
coaches
Ryan.
we're going to talk about too. Then,
But I do think that Rick Pitino's a different bird, and St. John's, I'm sure, is happy because they're in New York, bunch of liberal idiots. They don't care, and they're all for abortion. So,
in answer to Ryan's terms, Ryan, I see no reason to discount Bruce Pearl other than the fact that he's 64 years old.
yeah,
we want to try and rebuild this program, but then again, I got to look at it and say the portal speeds things up a hell of a lot. I mean, if you can use the portal to your advantage, I thought Mike used the portal well. I just couldn't get it done.
I think what he did is he went and he picked a bunch of really good big men and never
got guards.
Number one, he didn't need them because the offense he runs doesn't care about guards.
Yeah,
his offense is from 1985.
Goody should have played the most minutes of any player on our team this year.
And
he should have never been off the court.
Dude, Bryson Tucker should have gotten more playing time. He's the only actual freshman that was a recruit that you had.
And Bryson Tucker played the hardest of anybody on this team most consistently.
Here we go. And this is what worries me about Chris Beard. Do allegations for Chris Beard eliminate him?
I know, that's what I was saying.
And especially, who's the president in Indiana?
Female.
It's a woman. So that could have something to do with Chris Beard.
I think it puts a bigger cloud over Chris Beard than it does Bruce Pearl. I'll say that for sure.
Yes, because Bruce Pearl's stuff is not nearly as bad as the allegations.
Schematically doing things, and there are old things that he's done. There's nothing he's getting caught for recently. So, yes, Ryan, in answer to your question, I think that the allegations that Mike and I are talking about I don't know if they eliminate him, but I think it puts a big cloud and knocks him down a couple places. But again, I think he's a notch below Pearl in terms of we could live with him, but can we do better?
I think you can do better. My issue here is this. They fired him from Texas because of a charge of strangulation and suffocation against his wife. And he spent more than 12 hours in jail before he was released. The evidence is there, and his wife dropped it. So let me ask this. Ryan's watching the show. Ryan, is it a deal breaker for you? As an Indiana fan, there is really a really good chance that Chris Beard did this and his wife backed off of the case, because you can find pictures online, and she didn't do it to herself, but the charges were dropped. Would you, as an Indiana fan, Ryan, have an issue with that? Robert Stewart. And I want to ask Robert the same question. Not talking about if it's all right for the female president of Indiana going with that. He's talking about the picks. Robert, you've been a lifelong Indiana fan. Answer me this. Would you be all right with Chris Beard? You've seen the pictures of his wife. Would you be all right with Chris Beard being the head basketball coach at Indiana? And because really, Steve, this is the thing. I love Chris Beard. He coached with Coach Knight at Texas Tech. But damn, that was pretty heinous. And I really have a hard time after seeing the pictures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not about a clean or dirty program. That's just,
Well, I said it's personal issues. It's personal character, not courtside character. And
yeah,
there's a difference.
yeah,
There's a difference. Courtside character in this day and age, because of nil and portal, kind of got a clean slate for everybody. But personal character is personal character. If you have that tendency to hit your wife or choke your wife or be antagonistically physical to a woman, that's personal character, and I don't know that's fixable. I don't know that it is.
yeah. And I don't know if he did it or not. I'm just saying that I don't know. I mean, that's something. If that happens at Indiana, that's an issue. Now, Robert has given me an answer. I'm still waiting on Ryan Peters. Robert says no, he would not want Chris Beard because of that. And and it sucks because if he didn't do it and his wife was just mad at him, and I don't know, Steve. It's a tough one because until that happened, he was my number one choice to be the IU basketball coach.
I think what you do is make him spend a day at the Kinsey Sex Institute. And if he can get by that for a day, then he's okay.
All right, here we go. Ryan Peters. I have not seen these pictures, but we'll do research. That being said, we live in a society where guilty till proven innocent has taken precedent. Duke rape was fabricated. Richie Incognito bullying was fabricated. The Rick Pitino issues are public knowledge, and Rick Pitino still gets to do whatever he wants. I will say this, Ryan. This is slightly different than the Duke rape fabrication because there's pictures of his wife, and I don't know. And like I said, here we go. We got more Ryan. That being said, he still could have been prosecuted regardless. So I would say yes, because he was never charged, which I understand also. What I'm saying is right now, Indiana, I think, is on a slippery slope. If this next hire doesn't work, I mean, that's going to be a quarter of a century of bad basketball with 3 or 4 decent seasons. And then maybe it becomes even harder to get a good coach.
Well, I'll go a little bit farther, and I'll get pushed into the balcony now. But if this hire doesn't work, then it's on Dawson.
Because I will tell you this: this will be the first time Dawson's got to pick his coach, isn't it?
Well,
Quinn Buckner picked it before.
Yeah, well, if you count Buckner as, and I don't.
I
know
do
that.
because Steve.
I know, but I'm just not going to say that until I have.
It was Quinn Buckner. I don't know what more proof you know. I mean, Quinn Buckner didn't say it.
But still, Dawson is ultimately accountable.
He's not ultimately accountable when somebody above him overrules him.
Yeah, but he's still going to be held accountable. So he better make a good pick. Yeah, I'm kind of in Ryan's camp. That being said, I believe it too that in this society these days, you are guilty until proven innocent. I believe there's a lot of that going around. I'm not saying he didn't do it. There are photographs.
How about this, Ryan? Ryan and Steve, this is the way I would answer this. All right. I'm looking at the police report right now.
And why are we getting ahead to Beard? I thought we were talking about Beard.
Hold on, because that'll make what we do Chris Beard tomorrow now that more interesting. No.
I thought we were doing Dustin May tomorrow.
This is the thing, though. True, his wife told the police that Beard choked her, threw her off the bed, hit her, bruises all over her legs, throwing me around and going nuts. She said she couldn't breathe. But this is what I would say to all that. Man, if my wife accused me of doing that and I didn't, Ryan, I don't think she'd be my wife no more. That's all I got to say about that.
I know my wife would not have anything to do with me.
No, because your wife is the one that abuses you, Steve. You need to come out and say something. But, I mean, number one, you got a landline.
I went from night to Tia. You know,
from bad to worse. I'm just kidding, Tia. I'm just kidding, Tia. All right. So we both are kind of all right with Bruce Pearl. It wouldn't be the worst hire in the world. I think he would be successful. I think you think that too.
I would like Bruce Pearl. I would get along with Bruce Pearl. I would like him. I think that I could go to IU and feel back ingrained into the program pretty quickly. I think he would like my mentality because I think we have a lot of the same mentality.
Hey, wait, this will be the best part of the show. This is where somebody says I have a great point. Ryan Peters says I had a great point.
Well, I think you have a great point, Mike.
I wouldn't hang out with no woman that's going to get me arrested.
You make me think about things. I mean, I don't know that I would, at this point in time, I'm so desperate to see Indiana get back on top that I would just bypass it because any problems from a beard. I say, oh, what the hell? If you can win basketball games, let's go with it for a while. But that's wrong.
You know what? Bob Knight would not be all right with that.
No, Bob Knight wouldn't. But this is not Bob Knight's era. We've talked about that too.
Yeah, but it should be.
Bob Knight's over and done with. The game and the mentality and everything has changed a lot.
Well, all you got to do is watch the NBA All-Star Game and the NFL Pro Bowl and see how the mentality has changed. Everybody.
I would love Bruce Pearl, but I believe he would try to set his son up as heir apparent. Fine. Knight tried to do that with Pat Knight too, and it didn't work. So.
Well, that's because Pat Knight couldn't coach and Bobby got fired. So I don't know. Maybe we could get, Well, that'd be what North Carolina's doing.
I'm not going to put the cart before the horse.
I think this, though.
I want to coach in this.
I also think if you watch Bruce Pearl, he's probably got a good 6 to 10 years left.
I agree. Yeah. But is that enough?
No, because Dusty May has like 40. So maybe we should go there. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
The thing about Bruce Pearl is proven. Dusty May is not proven.
Wait, how could you possibly say that?
He didn't want anything yet.
He went to the Final Four once.
Okay, but did he win?
Bruce Pearl has been coaching Division I college basketball for a quarter of a century. He's been once.
3 times.
He went once.
Here in the Horizon League 3 times.
He did what? He went to the Horizon League playoffs 3 times?
No, Coach of the Year.
Wow, in the Horizon League. Dusty May took Florida Atlantic.
And 3 in the SEC.
Dusty May took Florida Atlantic to the Final Four, and in his first year took Michigan
with
from
nil
the worst
money.
team.
With nil money.
And what did Mike Woodson do with nil money? Everybody's got nil
money.
How about this, though? What we heard from
Dusty May is more equipped coach than Mike Woodson was. And I'm not going to bash Mike Woodson. I'm just going to say Dusty grew up in the college ranks. Mike grew up in the professional ranks. We all know it's a different world. So I'm not going to bash Mike Woodson. I'm done bashing Mike. Get off of Mike.
Yeah, he's done such a good job.
Mike
has made this university look so good. I'll tell you, it'd be hard to bash a man that has been that upstanding while he's been here as the head coach. Brian Weiner says, anyone taking Bruce Pearl to Indiana is foolish. We didn't think that, by the way. I think I put it at 30%. Steve's a bigger fool than me. He put it at 43. But he says there's a host of reasons why it won't happen. I think we went through a host of those reasons also. Yeah. But I think the age, to me, is the biggest issue.
I personally don't think he's going to want to leave Auburn at this point.
I think he would. I think Bruce Pearl will go wherever, and that's one of the reasons, one of the things I don't like about him.
12 years at Auburn, 12 years at Auburn?
Yeah.
Where's he going?
He would leave.
He
would probably come to Indiana if they offered.
His wife's got friends.
I don't think they will. Do you want to do Chris Beard tomorrow, or do you want to do Dusty May?
I'll tell you what. Let's let hang on here. Let's let Robert pick. Robert, tell us who you want us to do tomorrow.
All right, Robert, if you're still watching, I know you're at work.
Who do you want us to do?
Who do you want us to do tomorrow as possible next Indiana?
We're going to do them both. Dusty May or
he just throws somebody out that he wants. I don't care. Come on, let's go, Robert. All right, we're going to go wrap the show up while we wait for Robert, but we will have either Dusty May. We'll have Dusty May tomorrow, unless Robert says something different in the next minute.
Robert, Dusty May. All right, tomorrow we'll talk about Dusty May.
Yes, Robert.
The number one choice for every IU fan right now.
Well, last year.
On paper, let's see.
Hey, last year when Dusty May left, I told you guys, you and that little midget bitch that lives down in Florida, I told him Dusty May should be the head coach, and he said Dusty May won't do anything at Michigan.
What am I, an ogre,
because he
bitch?
just coached at Florida Atlantic. But
a midget, get off of don't
say his name. He started, so don't say it. All right, guys.
Brian. No, I'm not Brian Waters.
Hold on. I'm thinking unknown like Bennington. Bennington or Bingington will be next week, the Vanderbilt coach. We will bring him up. I think that would be a good hire also, I think, but we haven't looked in depth, but we will look in depth on him. Like I said, Monday through Friday for the next couple of weeks, we'll pick a name. We'll break it down for you.
Yeah. I'll go ahead.
Steve, do you ever get on your Twitter anymore or your X?
No.
All right, Robert, we're going to do McCollum too. We'll go Dusty May, Chris Beard. Next Monday will be McCollum, unless Steve has a doctor's appointment.
No, I don't have one actually.
All right. And Friday, we'll do 2 shows, Steve. Friday, we'll also preview the Purdue game. It'll be fun.
I'm going to miss Regis and Kathy Lee.
Well, we don't have to do 2 shows.
Oh, that's all right.
Regis and Kathy Lee.
It's Regis actually Mark and Kelly.
Kathy Lee's like 95 or something.
I know. It's Mark and Kelly. I just say Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, but aren't they kind of stupid too? Stop watching that stuff.
No, they had this thing called Stump Mark that's kind of fun.
That sounds really gay.
It's a little trivia game.
Gentlemen, I have to get back to work. Great show. Thanks for watching, Ryan, and everybody.
Ryan.
Go on YouTube, look up Stuck in a Catch Fence. Check
Go
out
8-car. Let's see if we can get the 8-car win.
Covering all your NASCAR shows. All right, guys. You can follow Steve Risley at srisley34. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.